Just be out with us to Belize City. This has been my dream destination for a really long time. And we will be staying here for close to 2 months, and we will create the complete travel guide for Belize City, everything you need to know. And we are starting here in Belize City.
So if you guys have been following us and you've been seeing about our About video, you would know I'm from Belize. I haven't been here in 15 plus years, so I'm excited to be back. And I'm excited to share what Belize has to offer to you guys. We're going to be going to different places that the city has to offer, different stops. My school, my old school I grew up, my old home, and we're gonna take you around the whole place.
So Devon will be sharing his childhood stories with you, and along with that, we will tell you what Belize City has to offer. Just be out with us.
So did you guys know that when you come to Belize on a cruise, this is where it stops in the city? If you look right behind me, you can see one of the cruise ships. It just started turning and heading back out to sea. So that's about 5 miles out. They drop anchor out there, and then the tender brings the passengers into the city. And because there's not really much to do in the city, they take the passengers from the actual port, and then they go and they do excursions outside the city. So they will go to the zoo and they'll do other activities. So as you can see here, you have the Belize sign, which is really cool. And this is where you can come and take your photos. And of course they put this here because, again, it's right next to the port. So people come off the ship and they kind of walk around this area. And also if you could turn around and you just look right behind me over here, you notice there's some stalls where they have fruits and juices and different things. We continue walking. I want to bring your attention to this area here. Out in the ocean, there's an island out there, and there's actually cranes, and they're doing some dredging. And what they're trying to do is build an island out there. What they want to do is have, instead of the cruise ship docking out in that area, and the tender brings them on to into Belize, then they will actually dock out there. So we'll see how that all works out. Also behind me, you see this lighthouse. That is Baron Bliss Lighthouse, and that lighthouse is actually active. During the evening time, at a certain time, the light begins to flash. It's a beacon, and because we're so close to the sea, as you can see, they have to have a lighthouse here. That way, any boats that are coming by, they get warned. Strip. They call this Barracks Road, and behind me you'll see there's multiple like big buildings. There's the Ramada Hotel, which is the Princess Ramada. Really cool. I've stayed there several times. The last time I came to Belize, they have a casino in the bottom, really huge pool, movie theater, bowling alley. I don't know if that has changed, but when I was here last, that was a part of the hotel. There's also a bunch of nightclubs. There's some state parks on the side. It's a beautiful walk. If you go down this way, you'll find like a lot of people hanging out. The locals are here just hanging out. A lot of times you see cars parked on the side. They just come out here, they sit on the seawall. You see pelicans just hovering above you. It's so cool here, and it's definitely worth coming by here when you're in Belize. When flying into Belize, you will be landing at Philip Goldberg's International Airport. It is 20 minutes to Belize City from the airport, and it'll cost you $25 US in a cab. Now, once you're here, when you want to go to the other districts located in Belize, or even the Keys, this is the local airport you would be taking off from. And that's where you have Maya Air and Tropic Air. It is really cool. As you can see, this is the type of airplane that you'll be going into. They're really small, and we're in the airport. As you can look up here, you'll see this is a place that has a bar where you can actually have a drink before you board, get something to eat, and then from there you just get on your flight and be on your merry way. To get from this airport to the Keys or one of the districts, it'll only take about 15 minutes or sometimes a little bit more depending on how far out you go. So this is really cool. We had a cool opportunity to actually see what the plane looks like up close. I'm sure you guys would want to know. So It's tropic air, as you can see. So now we're going to take a look on the inside really quickly. It seats 12 people, as you can see here. It's so cool, look at that. And I've seen videos where actually they put someone right next to the seat with the pilot, which is really cool. A plane just landed, which is awesome. It is so cool. I can't wait to get the opportunity to take one of these bad boys to the Keys, and maybe we will while we're here in Belize. So awesome. So now we are here in the center of town, and this is called Swing Bridge. Now this bridge is very special. It's really iconic to Belize. It's an old bridge. Back in the days, what they used to do so that ships could pass, and you can see a boat passing behind me. It's a very low boat and it'll go right underneath, and he'll have to duck to get under there. It's really cool. See, there you go, he's ducking to get under. But there used to be bigger boats that would pass by here. So then what they would do is they would have a few guys stick these metal pipes inside the center of the bridge. Had a hole with a pivot, and they would stick it in there, and they would actually use their own power to turn the bridge, and they would crank it, and the bridge would eventually pivot and turn this way. This way the boats can actually pass by, and then they would swing it back. Traffic would come to a halt, and as you can see over here, it's kind of like a four-way street. So they would stop traffic, they would swing the bridge, and then once the boats passed, they would swing it back, and then traffic could then continue. On the other side of this bridge, there are boats that you can actually catch that can take you to the Keys as well. So there are local boats that you can charter, and they will take you out to the Keys, and that's on the other side of this bridge. And along the whole canal here, it's lined off with different boats and restaurants and different things that you could see. Across the bridge is where you will find the main street in Belize, and there you'll find banks, stores, local businesses, bars, restaurant. That's like the center of Belize City. So now we are here. Oh my gosh, this brings back so much memories, guys. This is the school I went to. I must have been about 6 or 7 when I went to it. It's called Grace Primary. We know it as Grace Chapel. Let's cross the street so we could see what it looks like. It's crazy because as a child, I remember this being so much larger, and now I look at it and it's actually so tiny. One of my classes was actually around the corner there. There was a class. The principal's office used to be right behind this part here, and that's the actual church right there, and people are actually right there now in service. This was the playground we all played in. Wow, this is just crazy right now seeing this. It's so cool. And this whole area, as you can see, you have homes that are here. And one thing I remembered being here, going to the school, so in Belize, it is typical that the teachers or the principal can actually discipline the child. So there were times that the teachers or the principal would actually give the children lashings if they didn't complete their assignment or if they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And I remember going to the principal's office, and there's this thing called a sash card that they use, and they'll tell you to put your hand out and they will whip you, and sometimes you get welts. And you would think, wow, that's kind of crazy. Yes, in those days, that's kind of like what it was here in Belize. I don't know if they still do it, but I got my butt whipped when I was here. And on top of that, what happens is when you go back home and you got whipped in school, chances are when you get home, you're gonna get whipped again, because now your parents are gonna whip you for doing something that you weren't supposed to do. So yeah, this is just crazy seeing this. The color, everything is exactly the same. It is so cool.
We only had 2 days in Belize City, so we did not have enough time to show you everything. But we still want to share some information with you, and Devon wants to share some Belize stories with you.
Well, let's start off with, where is Belize? Belize is located in Central America, not South America as some people may think. It is located in Central America, and it's to the east of Guatemala and to the south of Mexico. Belize City used to be the capital of Belize, but ever since Hurricane Hati in 1961, Belize was devastated. Belize City was devastated, and the capital was moved from Belize City to Belmopan. So now Belmopan is the capital of Belize.
And when we were actually on the way to Sleeping Giant from Belize City, we saw Hati village.
Yes, it's actually a village.
After the hurricane, some people decided to move more inland, and they formed a village and they named it after the hurricane.
Yep.
What I noticed about Belize City is a lot of houses are actually so run down, and a lot of them are barely standing, but people still live in them.
Yes, and a lot of this is because, well, the economy, but also the fact of the hurricanes that constantly comes through Belize City. Belize does have hurricane seasons. So in the States, when you have winter, spring, summer, fall, Belize has a season for hurricanes.
And the Hurricane Hati was more devastating because, as we heard from the stories, is when the hurricane came, it destroyed a lot of homes. So people came out to gather their belongings, and that's where the hurricane was in the eye. So the eye of the hurricane was right over Belize City. So people came out to grab whatever they can salvage from the hurricane, and once the eye of the hurricane passed, they got hit with the second wave of the hurricane, and a lot of people died and even more properties got destroyed.
Yes, that was the most devastating hurricane Belize have ever witnessed. So the attire you will normally see in Belize City, you have the working class people who they dress up. You'll see them in uniforms, in their work attire. Then you have the children that are going to school. They're also in uniform and in college. And then you have the people who are just kind of out and about the city. Those are people, they're just very casuals, t-shirts, shorts, slippers, and sometimes they're not even wearing any slippers on their feet at all. They walk around the street barefooted. So that's also common to see as well. As a child, I remember walking around barefooted at times, not because I didn't have shoes or slippers or anything, but it's just kind of like a normal thing as a child running around the streets.
One of the things that shocked me in Belize City is the amount of street dogs running around. Some of them do have colors, so they obviously belong to somebody.
But most of them don't.
But they just roam around the streets, and they all seem to be relaxed and chilled and friendly. But it's just really crazy how many of them just walk around the streets by themselves.
So I do still have a lot of family in Belize. My grandfather and grandmother passed, but I do have uncles and aunts and cousins here. And they picked us up at the airport, and the first thing I would do, obviously, when you get in a vehicle is put your seatbelt on. Well, not really in Belize. They don't really put the seatbelt on, but there are checkpoints along the way sometimes on the road, and if they see a checkpoint, then they would kind of just grab the seatbelt and put it on because you're liable to get a fine. But it's nothing that's really enforced like that, where if you were not wearing a seatbelt, you can be ticketed.
And when they are in the car, they actually don't like wearing seatbelt. And when we mentioned to Devon's cousin, he's like, "No, I don't want to wear seatbelts."
Floods are another thing in Belize City that's very common. If you're here and you're in Belize City, if it rains for just about 10 to 15 minutes and you come out into the streets, the street that you were just walking on or you were just driving on is now flooded. It is so easy because the downpours here, and we're at a very low sea level, so it does not take much rain for the streets to be flooded.
Belize City is not really tourist orientated, but however, there are cruise ships that come to Belize City and bring passengers to the city, and of course from the cruise they have organized tours. But as far as the touristy things to do in the city itself is not that much things to do. However, there are some attractions that are not too far from the city. For example, there is Belize Zoo, which is about 45-minute drive, and there are some cave explorations that you can do that
zip lining.
Are also just an hour away from the city. So when you do come to Belize City from a cruise, most likely you're not going to be staying in the city as well. You will venture somewhere outside the city. Most people who come to Belize City just use it as a hub to go from the jungle to the Keys or to other parts of Belize, and they mostly stay a night or two. So we actually have a really good budget spot for you to check out and stay at, which is coming in the next video. We were staying at Jovili Boutique Hotel, and it is very comfortable, secure, clean, and the beds are super comfortable, and they do have fast speed internet as well. We are staying in Belize for 2 months, and we are creating a complete Belize travel guide, and a lot of exciting places are coming next. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click like for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and as usual, just be out with us.